Welcome to the Modern Stock Car Cup Tour. In the final race of the first half of Season 3, we bring you the NASCAR Hall of Fame 600 from Charlotte Motor Speedway. This is a 153-lap race, which, if my calculations are correct, is equivalent to about 230 miles. But that is not the reason why this race is 153 laps. Let me give you some clarity, or some context per se. Back in Season 1, when we just got started, 23 drivers registered as points-paying participants and were credited at least some points for their actions and for their participation in the Modern Stock Car Cup Tour. In Season 2, that number exploded to 70 drivers, and in Season 3 right now, we are at 60, although that is not entirely accurate because we do have 2 new drivers entering the field for the first time in this endurance-style race. So it'll be up to 62, if I'm not mistaken, once we're all said and done. Now, that's why we're at 153, is because we've had 153 total drivers. Some are duplicates, like Santiago Alvarez, who's been here since Season 1, one of the OGs. He starts 5th today alongside Dodge partner Ryan Adema. But that's why we have 153, because we have 23 plus 70 plus 60. There you go, 153. On the pole today is Pontiac loyalist Riley Wedge with his first pole position of the year. Darian Arnsdorf in the number 98 Procore and Gulfstream sponsored Ford as the co-owner of All-Star Speed Team. He starts on the outside today. It's 153 laps, 229.5 miles in this beautiful quad oval in Concord, North Carolina. Let's get underway. We don't have any starting command, but we will take a look at the starting lineup. Because we're recording this race off of an RPY file, we do not have any starting commands saved. We noticed that during South Boston, so it's only if I record the race live if we have any starting commands. Regardless, let's take a look at the starting lineup. Row 1 is Riley Wedge and Darian Arnsdorf. Row 2 is Doug Doering and Chase Buck. Row 3 is Santiago Alvarez and Ryan Adema. Row 4 is Sonny Ross and Creed Daniel. Row 5 is Jacob Thibodeau and Carlos Rex. Row 6 is Sarah Fang and one of the 2 new drivers, Rashia Mahendra. Row 7 is Christian Coppola and Ronnie Martin. Row 8 is Daniel Rivera and Matthew Green. Row 9 is Luis Aguilar and Caleb Marinelli, the second of 2 drivers. The Row 10 is Armin Salvador and Nelson Reeves. Row 11 is Donna Wilkins and Kyle Driscoll. Row 12 is Chris Lattimore and JJU. Row 13 is Jesse Owens Jr. and Brennan Wilmington. Row 14 is Sam Joseph and Adeline Galvin. Row 15 is Charlotte Kelly and Amelia Nielsen. Row 16 is Felipe Ford and Leland Hill. Row 17 is Nolo Hamilton and Hunter Walker. Row 18 is Callan Fleming and Dan Wilkins. Row 19 is Brandon Allen and Zachary Jones. And to close it out, it's Aiden Segal, Molly Fleming, Dakota Bennett, and Logan Williams. Logan Williams crashed in qualifying, so he had an abnormally slow time. And that's why he's starting at the back today. Pace car is off. It's 153 laps, the longest race of the year mileage-wise. As we go into the quad oval, Riley Wedge and Darian Arnsdorf on the front row, they take the green flag from Charlotte Motor Speedway. Coming off of turn 2 for the first time. Well, Riley Wedge already gave up the bottom lane. Or maybe not, but he still left the door wide open for Chase Buck to get up on in there. As he does lead the first lap, but he does get forced up by Darian Arnsdorf, who takes the lead in that number 98 Ford. Arnsdorf has had a long streak of not winning. He hasn't won since Season 3 at the Walt Disney World Speedway, the 1-mile triangle, the temporary track where the NASCAR Craftsman Truck Series used to be held, but it was one of the first races of Season 2. He overtook the lead from Abel DeMarco 71 laps into the 100-lap feature. And he eventually hang on to win the race. He's not sponsored by Haas anymore, or Haas Tooling, whatever. But that old 98 car with that Stewart Haas Racing font was definitely a classic. as he leads, and Riley Wedge, the man who started this race in position number 1, right now is not in an optimal spot. He's in 5th, behind Doring and Alvarez, and in front of Creed Daniel, your Kansas winner this year. Everybody in the top 4 does have at least one career win, as we mentioned. Darian Arnsdorf at WDW Speedway in Season 2. Chase Buck at Atlanta in Season 2. Santiago Alvarez won twice in Season 2, respectively at Dover and also at Charlotte, the same racetrack. He led 80 out of 120 laps in that year's event for his first career win, and then won later on in the season in the, I guess you could say, as the races were winding down. As look at this, the 19 and the 16 going to the inside. Chase Buck with a huge run and getting to the lead that way. He will take the lead and lead his first lap on lap 5, as now the Toyota is out front. But along with that, Doug Doring had 2 wins last year as well, winning at Pocono and at Texas to close out the first half. So he's 1 for 1 in races to close out the first half, because Texas was what ended the first half last year. Remember, the All-Star race was at Bowman Gray, maybe about an hour up the road in North Carolina, instead of being at Charlotte Motor Speedway like it is this year. Uh-oh, and we have trouble. The 31 of Christian Coppola is blowing up, as we have early troubles for the 31 Chevrolet, as now more troubles back here. The 24 and the 13 made contact, and he's held up about 15 cars. That includes Marinelli, Wilmington, Driscoll, Felipe Ford, Chris Lattimore. There's no damage to any of those cars, but because of the fact that they got held up by a car blowing up in smoke, there is no caution on the racetrack, although I would be concerned about possible oil in turns 1 and 2, although right now we're getting word that there shouldn't be any cautions for an incident like that. I don't see why there would be, unless, I mean, if there was oil on the track, the caution would have been called by now, although we've seen strenuous circumstances. Look who's made his way in the top 5, that BWT Toyota of Rashia Mahendra, team owner of Mahendra Motorsports, the native of Jakarta, Indonesia, in Southeast Asia, making a big impact here in his first career start. Originally a truck driver, made one start at Kansas, as now he's trying to battle with Ryan Adema for the 6th position. Let's take a look at your Season 2 champions hood camera. Well, he's now cleared the 42, and that puts him in 6th, and Ryan Adema's not done yet. He's trying to get past his own teammate and pole sitter Riley Wedge in that brand spanking new Flip Pontiac Trans Am, Flip being a popular skateboard company. Although I did have to look that up, because I have never ridden a skateboard in my life, and if I tried to, I'd probably fall flat on my face, and that would not look good if I was taking professional pictures. Although, who called me a professional? Top 5 right now is Chase Buck, Doug Doring, Santiago Alvarez, Ryan Adema, and Riley Wedge. Although, look at Creed Daniel getting a huge run on the inside, passing Adema. Yeah, right now the big divide stands between 12th and 13th. That's what we're looking at right now. The 39 of Sonny Ross is basically the last car in contention right now, battling with Ronnie Martin in that DuPont Dodge, showing his patriotism for his home country of Argentina from the city of Cordoba. But then you can see way back there is the 11 of Daniel Rivera and the 05 of Matthew Green in that Colt-sponsored Chevrolet, along with the anime show Girls und Panzer. Take a look from the hood of the 05. you can see that large gap between 13th and 12th. They basically have a whole turn in front of them, and they can't get any draft help out of that. So it helps nobody and hurts everyone. Although Chase Buck getting a bit of an advantage here on lap 14 as he crosses the stripe. Alvarez in tow. He gains about a half of a tenth right there. He's now about a quarter second in front of Alvarez as Doug Doering looks to make the pass. Santiago Alvarez, the former Dan Wilkins Racing entry, now entered under Yoo-Hoo Motorsports, sponsored by you-know-who, Yoo-Hoo, the chocolate milk brand. But Riley Wedge is not done yet. I mean, I know he took a hard fall after maybe first 2 laps and he fell out of the top 5, but he doesn't want to fall out of that position. He wants to get himself back to where he wants to be. And even though he's kind of being toyed with by his teammate and co-owner, the 92 of Ryan Adema, he's not going to go down without a fight. As you can see, he might have gotten a little bit of a side draft there, so he chose the middle groove. Although, I don't know, that middle groove might not have been voluntary. He got a lot of air under him from Ryan Adema. He's lucky that he didn't spin that one out. But for those ARE cars, they've been pretty lucky so far in the first 17 laps. Former ARE co-owner when it was ABR, Adema Buck Racing, before they split at the conclusion of Season 2. Chase Buck in the lead, and then Doug Doering, basically their flagship Pontiac, besides Riley Wedge. Doug Doering stands in second, although this might change. Take a look at Santiago Alvarez making a bit of a bold statement on the inside and forcing Doering up high, so he'll retreat to the 3rd position. Although they are side by side down the backstretch, but right now it's Doering second, Ryan Adema shrugging his way up to 3rd. As this is actually a really good battle right now. So I guess you could say, oh, look at that. Doering just beat him out. So Doering 3rd, Adema 4th, and then Riley Wedge in 6th. And the 24 of Jesse Owens Jr. got caught up somewhat in that debacle with Christian Coppola. He's in 16th right now behind fellow Dodge, Luis Aguilar, and in front of Donna Wilkins in the 13. And I know we were talking about some special schemes because this race was substantially delayed due to personal scheduling conflicts. This race was supposed to be held on Memorial Day weekend, and there just wasn't any time for it. So let's go through the field, though, and take a look at some special paint schemes for this week. Not Memorial Day related, but as we saw the new paint scheme for Riley Wedge, the number 85 Flip and Texaco branded Pontiac. There's also the new paint scheme for Carlos Rex, intent honoring our United States Marines. And also, over behind this pack in 14th is Matthew Green, as we talked about before, a few laps ago, with that Colt and Gerlthund Panzer sponsored Chevrolet of Unknown Motorsports. As we have a big crash. Oh, in turn 2, 2 vehicles up on their lids. It's Reeves and Fleming. The yellow is out, and this one is a doozy. There's Hamilton, Hill, Wilmington, as the pace car might have just murdered about 3 other cars. We were just about to talk about Jesse Owens Jr. and his U.S. Army-inspired paint scheme, as he just shoved the leader, Santiago Alvarez, into the wall, but I'm going to act like that didn't happen. Caution is out for the first time on lap 22. That race car is destroyed. Let's take a look at what happened. This, oh my goodness, this is a very, very unusual situation. I think this started with the 24 and the 13, but we were going back through the field when this all happened. So let's take a look from our helicopter camera in slow motion. You can see the 13 and the 24 tangled up on the bottom. That's why everybody was slow. They both basically spun themselves out. There's the 01 and the 4 that had to dive to the bottom. Sam Joseph with a little right front door damage. But there's Nelson Reeves. And then basically 2 cars flip over here. Because here's Callan Fleming slams into the right side door, which sends Reeves rolling over. And then just from the momentum of it all, Callan Fleming gets hit and then assisted by Amelia Nielsen. There's Brandon Allen, Hunter Walker into the picture along with Nolo Hamilton. Looks like Caleb Marinelli gets through okay, but this is going to be a lot of camera angles to look at, and we might look at the one that takes the hardest to look at first, from the cockpit view of the number 10 of Nelson Reeves, running 21st at the time of caution. Well, folks, this will be cut out of the YouTube video, but you know how I am. Even a replay file will not work because NASCAR Racing 2003 season is an outdated game that does not deserve the limelight that it has. Maybe that's not true, but it also doesn't help that my computer is an absolute shitbox. But here's the good news. This is a replay file. So all we have to do is go into the game, go to the replay, go to lap 21, and start over. That didn't happen in the 4 other times that I attempted to do a replay. But now, it magically decides to do that. And I probably shouldn't be faulting the computer as much as I do. Or, excuse me, the game as much as I do. It's mostly my shitbox computer. It's from, like, 2015. It can't even run BBMC tracks. Like, I know somebody with an absolute ass of a laptop, yet they can run BBMC tracks just fine. And I can't. What the fuck is up with that? Anyways, lap 21. Can you work now, please? Okay. Here we go, folks. Act like you didn't hear anything I just said. Let's take a look at the cockpit cam of Nelson Reeves. That's hard to watch. I mean, man, he doesn't even land on his wheels. Well, we're going to take a look also at the number 8 of Callan Fleming, who also flipped over. Oh. Hard lick, to say the least. Hard lick. She goes over once and a half and does not get back on all fours. But let's take a look at the man who didn't instigate this incident, but had a big part in it indirectly. It's the 24 of Jesse Owens Jr. Let's take a look at what he's got cooking. He was in the 16th position at the time of the crash. And one more camera angle from that mess. It'll be the 15 of Caleb Marinelli, who was running 33rd, but got through somehow for a good gain. There's absolute chaos unfolding. There really isn't much you can do about that. But here's another good thing about replay files in this game. You can just skip caution laps. So this is what we did at South Boston, and this is what we're going to do today. Although I will take a look at pit stops. So let's see who leaves pit road first. I mean, it's not like it's the money stop or anything. It's lap 23, you know. Give it a break. Although Santiago Alvarez, who led at the time of caution, will lead off of pit road. Ryan Adema gaining a spot. Chase Buck losing a spot. Doug Doring staying. And looks like Rashia Mahendra also gained a spot on that first pit stop of the day. Or of the night, rather. So lap 25 out of 153 from Charlotte. We're going to go green this time by, as you get to watch these cars form up. Your top 10, Alvarez, Adema, Buck, Doring, Daniel, Mahendra, Arnsdorf, Feng, Wedge, and Ross. Although you're going to see a lot of those cars line up on the outside. Sarah Feng is going to gain 4 spots because she's on the inside. That's going to be really weird. As of now, 24 cars are on the lead lap. 41 are in the race, although I highly doubt that number. Green flag is in the air. Inside line, it got a bad restart as Adema didn't get all the traction that he wanted to at the exit of the quad oval into turn 1. He might get it back, though. He might have been saving up that energy. He might have not been 100%. See, if I turn off the video board and put it back on, I don't know. We'll see. But if we showcase... Yeah, there's only 24 cars on the track. That can't be right. Like, for example, it's showing the 24... He's not in the race. So it's just not showing who's out. It's showing that there's several laps down. I think that's partially because it's on a RPY file. But man, choosing the inside line for Sarah Feng really helped her out. She won just last week. She might become the first in a long, long time to win back-to-back races. Although not a long, long time. We saw Daniel Rivera do it just a few weeks ago. Sarah Feng taking the lead on lap 28. Creed Daniel and Ryan Adema in tow. Doug Doring. Oh, look at this. 3 wide for Alvarez, Arnsdorf, and Mahendra. That BWT4 Toyota. Whoa, Alvarez getting a little frisky up there. Getting a little dirty. Oh, no. Here we go. He's battling with the 19 now of Chase Buck. They're all going ham on the backstretch. And Sarah Feng losing leverage. Adema back to the lead. So I guess you can presume from how there's cars that are 5, 6 laps down. What happened to the 15? Is he out? I don't know how he got out, but he went through the wreck just fine. You saw it on the replay cam. That is unusual. So I guess we can presume now that just looking at the lap counters, the cars that are out are Marinelli, Fleming, Zachary Jones, Brandon Allen, Logan Williams, Amelia Nilsson, Nelson Reeves, Jacob Thibodeau, Jess Owens Jr., Donna Wilkins, Callan Fleming, Leland Hill, Dan Wilkins, Nolo Hamilton, Armin Salvador, and Christian Coppola, who is out with some troubles of his own from the engine side of things. Here's Creed Daniel creeping up into the second position in that white Logitech/Aflac sponsored Toyota of Pacific Racing. He won once this year at Kansas in a last lap pass over Armin Salvador, who was looking for his 3rd career win. But Creed Daniel seems to do best on these 1.5 milers. Both of his career wins in the MSCCT are on intermediates. He led 142 out of 147 laps at Darlington in Season 2, en route to a sweeping victory. And then in Season 3 this year, won it at Kansas in a last lap pass. It's also a intermediate, although I think Darlington, if I'm not mistaken, is 1.3 miles instead of 1.5. Adema holds the lead despite a threat from Doug Doring as the new man, Rashia Mahendra, is now into the 3rd position, overtaking Sarah Feng, although this might not last long. We'll see if Creed Daniel creeps up on her and makes a move. Creed Daniel, though, very unique name, I gotta say. Reminds me of the contemporary rock band. I know about 3 of their songs. I'd say my top 3 would be Higher, My Sacrifice, and With Arms Wide Open. With Arms Wide Open, though, is probably only good if you're in a certain mood. You know, you can listen to Higher or My Sacrifice really any time. But right now, the band is in 4th. As now Hunter Walker providing a little disturbance to the leaders, bringing them to a crawl. This is looking like if every Rick Ware car raced at once, going down to about 170 in the corners. They finally learned how to pass. They learned how to pass, and they're going to end up messing up Creed Daniel there, along with Mahendra, Arnsdorf, and Martin. Right now, your top 5 is Adama, Doring, Feng, Rex, and Riley Wedge. So 3 ARE cars in the top 5, and then Jesse Owens Jr. My goodness, I feel bad for him. He's in 35th out of the race. Although Carlos Rex in that Marines-inspired Ford for the All-Star Speed team, getting a little more traction, making his way into the 3rd position. Right now in the top 10 manufacturer-wise, it's Dodge, Ford, Pontiac, Toyota, Dodge, and Toyota. Although Creed Daniel, and another Toyota. So, what is this, TRD Enterprises out here? They're making a lot of ground. And here's, speaking of Toyota, it's Brennan Wilmington. Although he's not more of a stock car anymore, he's more of a Whelen modified car. As Ryan Adama approaches him, gets up in there. Although Doug Doring being the madman that he is, he used him as a drafting partner. Just like, let me use your arrow, son. 25th position, last car actively on the track. Just got lapped for the 2nd time. 24 cars remain on the lead lap. Last lead lap car being the 94 of Adeline Galvin, who's currently in the apex of turns 1 and 2 with JJU in tow. Look at this, 3 wide. Doug Doring backtracks, though. He's like, I don't want any part of that. He's like, nope. I mean, look, Charlotte does not have that wide of turns. So why would you want something like that? Wouldn't make a whole lot of sense. Although Carlos Rex is not giving up. He wants to take away that 2nd position from Sarah Feng. He's closing in a little bit, but not too much. Sarah Feng, though, getting closer. Ryan Adama led by a half second, 0.48 to be precise, on lap 39. And on lap 40, he only leads by 1/10 of a second, if that. So Sarah Feng does back off in turns 1 and 2, but my goodness, what an effort. Probably used him as a very good drafting partner, although now her resistance in turns 1 and 2 have led Carlos Rex to be creating a little 2-3 tandem. We'll see if that makes a bit of an impact, as we still have over 100 laps left. I'd say 113 if I'm being correct here. Can't use too much math off the top of my head. It's now Carlos Rex. Look at this. As I had predicted, he's going to try to make a pass over to 93, but the 93 is not done yet. Carlos getting a little feisty down there on the inside. I mean, look, this is good news for Adama, because the field behind him is really aggressively battling for these positions, and he has no competition. If either the 93 or the 14 went directly for the leader, they'd probably pass him by now, because these guys are running faster lap times than Adama. Last lap for him was a 28.565. For the 93, it's a 28.444. And for Carlos Rex, it's a 28.419. Even his own teammate, Riley Wedge, has been running a 28.418. And that most recent lap was even faster, a 28.377. And yes, Adama did step up his game a little bit on that last lap, 28.450. Speaking of laps, let's take a look at the fastest laps today, and surprisingly enough, it belongs to the rookie Rishi Mahendra, who's in 11th with a 27.468, 29 of Ronnie Martin, who is currently in the back of that pack right there, right behind Mahendra in 12th. He stands with a 27.506, and taking the bronze medal in 3rd is Creed Daniel, running in 9th with a 27.552. For your leaders, Adama is in 4th with a 27.556, and these guys are right in tow. Carlos Rex in 5th with a 27.558, and Sarah Feng in 6th with a 27.559. So there's your fastest lap so far. You can see Adeline Galvin and JJU who have been running substantially slower, as Darian Arnsdorf coming up onto the track here, the 24th position. Looks like he might have short pitted a little bit. I wouldn't be surprised, though, if this means the start of a pit cycle, because this fuel window is really only designed to last 25 to 30 laps under green, although that was either an unexpected stop for a mechanical issue, or that was just good strategy by his crew chief, Draken Smith. Maybe trying to get him a few extra points by short pitting him a little bit. I don't know. In some ways it makes sense, in others it does not. There's no new cars entering pit lane as they pass the lap car of Adeline Galvin, the Lime Rock Motorsports entry. Right now for Darian Arnsdorf, though, who is running for his life now in 24th, the last car. Actually, no, he is one lap down, probably because he short pitted. That would be my presumption, because he short pitted, that's why he's one lap down. Right now, he does need some points, though. He's out of the bubble. He's 23rd, no wins, 1 top 5, 1 top 10, and 5 top 20s for the 98. Which, this is coming off of a season where he entered the Champions Lottery. He was a Champions Lottery entry, and some people thought that he had a great chance to win, but he almost had he did have a big collapse in the end of Season 2. Crashing out in 6 consecutive races, and that included the Championship Lottery, so he ended up finishing 4th. As Carlos Rex getting a good run, although backtracking a little. Adama's going to pit right here. The 92 of Adama pits, and so do the rest of the leaders. Chase Buck, Sony Ross, Doring, Alvarez, Creed Daniel, and Rishi Mahendra. But those Season 2 standings from last year, the top 5 was Patrick Starr, Darian Arnsdorf, Chase Buck, Nolo Hamilton, and Ryan Adama. I mean, look, a 1-2 for your team? It's pretty darn good. Or, excuse me, not a 1-2, but you know what I mean. Two of your cars finish in the top 3, as now finally 1 lap later it'll be Carlos Rex and Riley Wedge. Here comes Martin and Rivera in. As we cycle through the pit stops, first cycle of green flag pit stops today. Adama leaves pit road, followed by Sony Ross, Chase Buck, Doug Doring, Alvarez, Daniel Mahendra. Here comes out Felipe Ford in the 07. Fielded by Sooner State Racing and sponsored by Stunadracing.com. So the lap times will be a little whack for a few laps, but because right now it's only showing 12 cars on the lead lap, but I'm telling you, it could be worse. But there's Adama back out onto the track with the 93, closing in a little. Take a look at her hood camera. I mean, you've noticed that some drivers have a little checkered board pattern inside their car. Let's take a look at Sarah Fang's cockpit again and show you what I mean. Right here in the cockpit. Well, there is a purpose for that. During day races, when the sun is hot out, It's almost used as a sunshade, effectively, because it prevents sunlight from getting too hot inside the car. I don't have any rhyme or reason as to why it's used by some drivers, but it's almost like why some drivers customize some stuff on how they like it for in their cars, like where their water bottle is placed or something. Like, there's no regulations, as far as I'm concerned, on where water bottles are supposed to be. But you get my point. It's now Sarah Fang, who is being scored as second, is going to pass Ryan Adema. They're both in the lead lap right now. 22 cars are on the lead lap. Luis Aguilar being the last of those. He's in 22nd. But this is side by side for two folks that have already won races this year. And overall, Adema got his 4th career win when he won at Homestead, his home track. Well, not his home track per se, because he lives in southwestern Florida in the Fort Myers area. But I guess the closest NASCAR track is we have a yellow on the racetrack. We have a spin in turn 1. It's Rivera and Adeline Galvin, and Rivera goes up and over. He takes a little space shuttle mission, and the yellow is out on lap 56. That will bunch up the field again. Oh my, a big crash for Daniel Rivera. Let's take a look at what happened here. I think this is pretty obvious. I wouldn't say it's obvious, but my goodness. Take a look. Adeline Galvin bunches up the 11. The 94 was going too slow. 11 was going too fast for his own good, and this is where it starts to break down, because look at who's coming. It should be, I believe it's the 05 that gets down in there. Yeah, look at this. Here comes the 05, the 05, the 05. Or no, it's not. The 47. Look at that. Oh, up in the air. The 47 and the 80 both have terrible, terrible contact. And we're going to take a look at the cockpit cam of the number 11 of Daniel Rivera, as that was a scary crash. Almost head on, you can see it. It's like time comes to a standstill. It's like, what in the world just happened? We're going to take a look at one more camera, the 94 of Adeline Galvin, because my goodness. Running 24th at the time of yellow. You can see it from the side. You can see how the 11 just basically pile drives over the vehicle. That's one of the most unusual things I've ever seen. But regardless, caution is out for the second time today. The 93 of Sarah Fang is going in, and so are many other drivers. Sarah Fang does win the race off pit road by a wide margin. Followed by, this is going to be close. It'll be, oh, that is too close to call. Oh, let's take a look. I think I'm going to take a look at the helicopter cam here. Ooh. Oh, so close. But Ryan Adema does take it away from Ronnie Martin in the 29. Oh, whoa. The 92 just blew up. Holy cow. Listen to that. 92 just blew up from the second position. That might be a gearbox issue, folks. My goodness. He was just chilling in the pace laps under caution. And he blew up. He's the second guy with engine problems today. That is a dark smoke. That might be something wrong with his exhaust. But my goodness, the 92 Dodge Challenger of Ryan Adema has lost the battle Oh my goodness. Wow. He will head down pit lane. I feel bad for the guy. I mean, my goodness. This might end his day. Although that's not a thick gray smoke. That's more of a opaque dark smoke. We'll see. They're actually not going to take him out. He is going to stay on pit road for now, and the caution lights are off, which means we'll be going green next time by. Keep an eye on that 92, see what happens. Yeah, I was surprised that he didn't just immediately turn into the garage. But right now, your top 10, Sans Adama, is Sarah Feng, Ronnie Martin, Sony Ross, Carlos Rex, Darian Arnsdorf, Chase Buck, Doug Doring, Creed Daniel, Rashia Mahendra, and Riley Wedge. Yeah, that's really unfortunate for that 92 team. They're going to lose a lot of spots here. If they... Oh, no. No, he's gone. Okay. They tried to fix the damage, but they didn't. They either didn't have enough time, or because they were going back green, they couldn't do anything about it. I don't know, but the 92 is out, and that will be a very tough break. But it'll be Ronnie Martin, who had a great pit stop on that last cycle, jumping 7 positions. He takes the green flag, and the inside line, once again, having trouble gaining a little bit of traction. And that means that Sarah Feng is going to reclaim second place as Ronnie Martin in the lead. Your Atlanta winner this year and just his 3rd career start. How about this? Look at Darian Arnsdorf going down low, having a big block on the 19 of Chase Buck. Really trying to dig down in there. He is he almost hooked the 98. He is not happy with that ASST entry. My goodness. As now, here comes Sony Ross, who led laps last month or last week, whatever time frame we're in at South Boston. She led laps at that race, and now she's leading again. It's a female 1-2 between Sony Ross and Sarah Feng, and the man who led the field back to the green on lap 59 is now in 5th. It's Ronnie Martin in the Dodge. It's now Darian Arnsdorf trying to reclaim his position from Sarah Feng. Arnsdorf down the back. Ross leading by a comfortable margin, just under 1/4 of a second, and this might hold with Arnsdorf having a big charge. In fact, it goes down about 1/10 of a second. Arnsdorf backing off a little bit. I've noticed that these drivers, they don't ease in much in the corners at this track. They're either way too aggressive or they don't do enough. They're always backing off like we're in Canada and everybody's being polite. Although speaking of Canada, former resident of Vancouver, Sony Ross leading some more laps. Lap 64 of 153 from the NASCAR Hall of Fame 600. I know when we titled this race that, I did not anticipate as much confusion as it did, because they're like, when I say NASCAR Hall of Fame 600, it sounds like I'm quoting a NASCAR race, and it's just the Hall of Fame 600. But it's because the NASCAR Hall of Fame is in the vicinity, and we're racing at Charlotte Motor Speedway in Concord, North Carolina. How about the 42, Rashia Mahendra, in the Mahindra Motorsports team owner entry in 8th, and Caleb Marinelli really getting the short end of the stick compared to the 2 rookies today. He's in 27th out of the race in that early accident on lap 22. Top 10 right now, though, as we go to lap 67, is Ross, Buck, Daniel, Arnsdorf, Wedge, Feng, Martin, Mahendra, Doring, and Alvarez. Creed Daniel making his way into the second spot. Chase Buck not done yet. They're 2 by 2 in several rows, including in a battle for second between Daniel and Buck, and a battle for fourth between Arnsdorf and Wedge. Although Wedge losing a little bit of that draft help, he's in fifth right now, really trying to get a bit of an advantage. Well, now he's going to get cleared. Although Arnsdorf might make a crossover on the 65. Those 2 white cars, a lot of white. As they're devolving into single-file racing, but that doesn't mean this is how it's going to stay. I mean, look, in a 153-lap race, imagine if it's the Coca-Cola 600. There was a lot of single-file racing. Even then, they weren't even that close together. This is at least close single-file racing where we're seeing passing, and we're seeing bold moves like this, because here comes Darian Arnsdorf. You know, we still have 90 or so laps left, but he's still going to bid for that third spot. As here comes Chase Buck jumping down to the inside. Like I said, these drivers are very aggressive, which I haven't seen at many other tracks. Look at how aggressive they're basically mashing their brakes in the corner instead of easing into it as they would in any other of the 27 tracks on the schedule. As look at this. Positions 4 and 5 getting down in there, trying to overtake Creed Daniel. It's the 98 and the 85. They're going ham out here. And we're not even in the closing laps. It's just, it's not as baffling to me because I've seen crazier things happen, especially on road courses, where I see these drivers not even attempt to pass. As now, speaking of passing, there's 2 lapped cars up here, the 62 and the 23. As everybody moves down, they learn to pass again. Walker and Wilmington, the last 2 cars on the racetrack, 21st and 22nd, they're going to be 4 laps down this time by. Right now, 18 cars on the lead lap, last one being Kyle Driscoll, as he's actually on the exit of 2, so he's not going to be on the lead lap for long either, so you can make it 17 about 3 minutes from now. Chase Buck, though, getting a good run. Creed Daniel now taking that second spot away from Chase Buck. He's all the way back in 5th. As right now the top 5 is Ross, Buck, Daniel, Wedge, and Chase Buck. Ross has led at least 10 laps, though. I'd say maybe 12 or 13. I haven't really been keeping count in all fairness, but she's done a good job, to say the least. The Chase Buck going down to the middle groove, trying to pass the 98. He doesn't have a fender in there. But he's not going to do so. I mean, yeah, I don't really have much to comment on as we're halfway through the race. I mean, look, lap 77 now. Right now sitting at pretty much the halfway point. 153 divided by 2. Let me open up the calculator app. No, not 53. Oh my goodness, this app won't work. Here we go. 76.5. So yes, we are at the halfway point. As Riley Wedge is going to jump up from third to second, going to overtake Creed Daniel, although Creed Daniel is not done yet. Here he comes with a big run off of 4 into the quad oval. He's going to do a crossover here and be side by side with some big air gaps in between the 65 and the 85. I mean, that was not a long-lived run for Riley Wedge, although take a look at this. Wedge might not be done yet. He's right now, I think, plotting his revenge. I don't know if he's got a notepad in there or whether he's telling Siri to write down some notes, but right now he has a good run because he's running these faster laps. Although they've now switched. That last lap was about 28.3, 28.4 for him. Now the roles have been reversed. It's a 28.454 for Creed Daniel. And for Riley Wedge, it's been a 28.665, and even Sonny Ross has been somewhere in the middle, the middleman, with a 28.559 for her right now on lap 79. As right now, Arnsdorf and Buck making a good way through, as here comes Wedge. Told you he was plotting his revenge. He got a good side draft and got Creed Daniel up the track. That's going to affect his lap times. As here's Sam Joseph in 17th. This will bring it down to 16 cars on the lead lap. Although, where'd Kyle Driscoll go? Did he fall? Yeah, he's fallen further back. But hey, there's Felipe Ford in 14th and a new team owner of Sooner State Racing, SSR. Dakota Bennett in 15th. They've lost a little bit of steam with Caden Robitaille leaving the league recently. Although he got 4th place at Talladega. I wouldn't call him a backmarker by any means. But maybe it was sort of a strenuous circumstance because it was on a super speedway. As Sam Joseph gets lapped. Sam Joseph, native of Milwaukee, Wisconsin. Oshkosh, Wisconsin. Near the Milwaukee area. I mean, it's basically single file, but you'd rather have this than a bunch of wrecks. A bunch of wreck fests. At least that's what I would rather have. Because this is getting the race by faster. Instead of having to deal with everything in between as... Oh, look at this. Oh, Darian Arnsdorf. Get in there, Darian. Come on, get in there, get in there. He is there. No. Come on, 85. Oh, he's giving him a good run. Take a look at the 85's hood camera. Oh, he's getting squeezed. He's getting squeezed like it's orange juice in the middle of August. Oh, my goodness, says Darian Arnsdorf loses a little bit of ground. Now Alvarez and Chase Buck are side by side. As Carlos Rex trying to fit in there. Carlos Rex is 6'2". He should be able to fit in there. Although all of that just to make it a larger gap for... Oh, no. Hold the phone. We're going to have green flag pit stops again. As now, once again, Carlos Rex going to be waiting an extra lap to pit. I think Sam Joseph kind of got blocked there prematurely. All that battling just for a green flag pit stop. Come on now. We're on lap 85 out of 153. Come on, man. Darian Arnsdorf has the second pit stall. As the 85 and the 14 did stay out. Whoa! Contact! Contact! What are you doing, man? What are you doing, man? The 4 and the 82 lapped cars got together. And by got together, I do not mean in heavenly matrimony. Sonny Ross exiting pit lane. Creed Daniel right behind him. And Rashima Hendra kind of got brake checked there, but still counts the same. I hope there's no debacles or anything after we leave pit lane, though. Although, it seems relatively easy for the pack to get back together. Giving Sony Ross some airtime, and not in the way that involves crashing. Right now she leads by 2 seconds over second and third place Daniel and Wedge. Though here comes Hunter Walker. Although Carlos Rex getting a little block from Brennan Wilmington. This is not what we meant by a new aero package. Whoa! Hunter Walker running slower than a Starcom car. Now holding up Carlos Rex twofold. Now he's going to fall back to 7th. As even Rashia Mahendra. Oh, man. Come on now. That's not... You have to pass these cars naturally. Like right now, we have the 19 of Luis Aguilar and the 5 of JJU. As now Sony Ross is going to pass both the 55 and the 5. Speaking of 5s, where's the 05? Matthew Green, he's back there in 13th. With no back end, but running respectable laps for somebody with no back end. I guess that helps for a little bit of airflow. Last lap with a 28.046. Maybe trying to help here as he's working with Philippe Ford. 28.066. That is consistently good laps. I mean, that would actually make for the slowest lap of the day. For the fastest lap, the slowest, fastest lap would be Adeline Galvin with a 27.933. That would still be very respectable for that. I mean, come on. Riley Wedge is closing. He was about 1.7 seconds last time through. Now he's about 1.5 seconds back, although Sony Ross might be using Charlotte Kelly, the namesake of... Well, not the namesake, but you know what I mean. Charlotte Kelly sharing a name with this track, Charlotte Motor Speedway, although I don't think there's any correlation. .36 and now 0.94. He gained almost 4.4 tenths of a second in that lap. And now Riley Wedge is going to have to fight with Charlotte Kelly. Well, not fight, but you know what I mean. Whoa! Creed Daniel running him down to the ground. They're 3 wide as Kelly backs off. Riley Wedge getting there. He is closing in, that's for sure. Gained another 0.2 of a second on that lap. And here he is. 0.4 tenths of a second back. It's crazy, isn't it? Creed Daniel now in tow. I mean, look, this is basically what we had before, although the only issue is that third place is about maybe in between 1/2 and 3/4 of a second behind the leader, and then you have Carlos Rex, who is 4 seconds back. 3.57. But his teammate and co-owner of the All-Star Speed Team, Darian Arnsdorf, behind him in 5th, and then Rashid Mahendra in 6th, Santiago Alvarez in 7th, Ronnie Martin in 8th, Sarah Fang in 9th, Chase Buck in 10th, Philippe Ford in 11th, Chris Lattimore in 12th, Doug Doring, who had a good battle for the lead earlier tonight, is in 13th. Matthew Green in 14th. Dakota Bennett in 15th, and she is the last car on the lead lap. And after that, it's the 0-1 of Charlotte Kelly. The 4 of Sam Joseph, and everyone else is 2 laps down or more, as Riley Wedge has taken the lead away from Sonny Ross. He leads lap 98 as we approach the 50 laps remaining mark. Now we're encountering some lap traffic again. The 85 and the 39, they're running low. That tandem of the 62 and the 23, I guess it's working at also holding up the leaders a little and making it a little bit easier for that 4th place car of Carlos Rex to catch up. He was at 3.5 seconds back last time. We'll have to see what it stands as now. He actually gained a half second on that lap. So I guess every time that Brennan Wilmington and Hunter Walker sweep through town, I guess you'll have to expect Carlos Rex to gain a little bit more momentum on the 85, 39, and 65. So we're on lap 100 of 153. You're watching the MSCCT Broadcasting Network with play-by-play commentator Dan Wilkins. Oh, Sonny Ross got a little slow. And that teal-white Toyota, Good Smile Racing, she won't be smiling now. She's got revenge to take care of. She's in 3rd in that Hatsune Miku Toyota. Riley Wedge out to a comfortable lead. Oh, Creed Daniel. Hold on now. Here comes the 39. It's no more smiles now. It is just, oh, I'm going to get your back bumper. 14 of Carlos Rex, still 3.6 seconds back. That deficit gaining as he is running significantly slower laps, 28.864. And Sonny Ross, the 3rd place car, running 28.401. Yeah, that lead has stayed stagnant now. Although, I don't know, Sonny Ross, it might just take a few more laps for her to get a better draft on the 65, but right now, 65 is going for the lead. He's not worried about the car behind him or anything else like that. He's just going for the 85. He's out for blood right now. He's looking for a 2nd win of the season, which will be the 5th for Pacific Racing this year. 1 from Brennan Wilmington as he won at Michigan. 2 from Daniel Rivera when he won at Iowa and at Riverside. And 1 from Creed Daniel when he won at Kansas, another intermediate track. And yet again, Charlotte Motor Speedway, another intermediate. And he's, again, having a great performance. Like, he's never been the guy that's been flashy on super speedways or great on short tracks. It's just been a little different depending on who you ask and depending on where they go. As right now, Creed Daniel creeping up on the 85. Just about a 1/10 of a second back. He hasn't made any moves yet. But guess who's back? It's the 20 and the 4. They're taking up both lanes. This is going to be flashbacks to every other time that these lapped cars have made it a living hell for the leaders at this racetrack, or at any racetrack for that matter, on the MSCCT schedule. I'd say the only time where lap cars aren't a nuisance are the dirt tracks, because they know how to get out of the way. So we got 2 this year. The Figure 8 Derby at Greenville, sponsored by Topps. And, of course, Eldora, one of the playoff races. As Creed Daniel, look at this. Lap 107, you can mark it in the books. He's taken the lead. But Kyle Driscoll might be an inadvertent imposter towards that situation, as Riley Wedge going to get held up. I'm sure he's not happy about that. He wants to get in there, and right now he is really getting the short end of the stick as he is stuck behind the lapped car, who's running, I mind you, a 29.87, and Riley Wedge and the leaders in front of him are running in the high 28s. That's almost a second slower, and now he's got to get by the Cabela Chevy of Sam Joseph, who has the same damage level as Driscoll does. Driscoll and Joseph and Driscoll both, actually, Joseph is 2 laps down and is P17, and Driscoll is 3 laps down and P20. Although right now, side by side, here comes Sony Ross back on the inside, trying to take the lead again. She will be denied right now, but maybe not for long. .28.889 on that last lap, and Creed Daniel was a little slower, but holds on to his lead with a 28.982. You'd have to imagine, with these lap times getting slower, that tire wear is upon us. We might have some pit stops amongst us soon, as right now, still top 5, holding consistent, it's Daniel, Ross, Wedge, Rex, and Darian Arnsdorf about 4 seconds back. As in fact, he's running now consistent with the leaders because of the tire wear. Because remember, Riley Wedge and Carlos Rex have always been the kind to stay out for 1 extra lap, as this might be actually a time where they pit now. I just saw a big braking zone in 3 and 4, so I thought they were going to pit, as we do have several cars on pit lane. That's Alvarez, Yu, and Green. Excuse me, Aguilar. Sam Joseph now. Sarah Fang. Some lead lap cars. Ronnie Martin, Chase Buck, Chris Lattimore. Let's see how these leaders fare down the back, as now there's no lapped cars in the way between Wedge and Rex, although that's a giant. Here we go. Wedge will stay out on lap 112, but we do have these 2 main leaders staying out. Arnsdorf and Alvarez, along with Mahendra, coming in position number 7. However, Wedge and Rex stayed out. They're about 3.7 seconds away from each other. Right now, oh boy, Chase Buck is in that early stall. Oh, contact between the 39 and the 93. They leave some debris on pit lane as Sarah Fang was trying to get out. Sony Ross was trying to get in. My goodness. They were just trying to fill a hole there. That didn't sound right. They were trying to fill a gap that just could not be filled. As now some more lapped cars, including Brennan Wilmington, Dakota Bennett, Hunter Walker, and Sam Joseph. As now Sony Ross, probably with some hurt feelings after having that go against her, an elongated pit stop. As now Riley Wedge has been on pit lane for a long time. I think they had some jack trouble. They were trying to lift up the jack, and they were trying to really wrench it in there, and just didn't go his way. Riley Wedge still leads on lap 114. Whoa, 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 whoa. What do we see here? We saw somebody up in the wall. I heard it. I heard it clear as day, but it might have been Kyle Driscoll. I don't know who it was in particular, but no yellow, so I don't think we really need a replay here. Creed Daniel, 2 seconds out, with Riley Wedge behind him trying to still get back up to speed. Carlos Rex passing him. Darian Arnsdorf in tow with Alvarez, Mahendra, Fang, Martin, Lattimore in 9th, and Sony Ross in 10th after having a long stop after, my goodness. Ugh. And now Sony Ross is going to come back in for an unexpected stop after making contact with the 93. I don't think this is a black flag situation. I just think that they need to repair that damage because they couldn't assess it then. And yikes. As Creed Daniel still with a empowering lead. 2.43 seconds. There's Matthew Green. Some air time for him. Some screen time, rather. Riley Wedge, 2.58 seconds back. You can see, I really like that red roll cage that they have in there. There's no restrictions in the Modern Stock Car Cup Tour on what color your roll cage can be. So if you want it neon pink, make it neon pink. If you want it a regular steel color, then make it whatever you'd like. Let's take a closer look at that red roll cage. The lead grows ever larger for Creed Daniel. 2.69 seconds. As Matthew Green approaches, right now, only 14 cars remain on the lead lap, and 22 still remain in the race. The first car that did not finish would be Ryan Adema, as we saw quite infamously had troubles. As Creed Daniel, oh boy. Don't give the 05 any trouble now. Don't make it your problem. As Riley Wedge actually might be a little bit closer now. Let's take a look. As now Luis Aguilar 19th, who is 2 laps down and about to be 3, as Creed Daniel running about 10 miles per hour faster. Look out, boy, look out. It's the Dogecoin versus the Logitech. Who has more logic and who has more coin? Oh boy, here we go. Alright, not that tough. You got it. 3-second lead for Creed Daniel. Reminds me, whenever he wins, it's usually by a big lead. He set the record for the widest margin of victory when he won at Darlington in Season 2, won by 9.5 seconds. And then that was beaten by Daniel Rivera, his own teammate. Back when he drove to number 20, was at Riverside, won by 11 seconds. Of course, Darlington is a bit more impressive because that's almost half of a lap, 9.5 seconds or so. And then, but at Riverside, those laps are upwards of 2 minutes. So I would maybe put a little bit more distinction on Daniel's 9-second dominance at Darlington. If we have 29 laps to go, as Wedge is making a bit of a closing effort. He was over 3.25 seconds back. Let's see how he runs at this lap. Last lap for Daniel was a 28.248, and for Luis Aguilar, for Riley Wedge, 28.158. But this lap, a little bit slower, 28.216. Of course, that tire wear might be getting to him a little bit. As Creed Daniel with a 28.163, still running a little bit faster. He passes the 80 of Kyle Driscoll. Still looking at the number 5 of JJU. So he passes the 5. Now now 2.94 seconds back as Wedge exits the tri-oval. Third place car of Carlos Rex, 5.13 seconds back. But basically everybody else not too far back. Arnsdorf, Alvarez, and Mahendra. And then it's a 7-second gap between the 42 and the 93. Creed Daniel now passing Hunter Walker and Dakota Bennett. 2.72. I think Wedge did have a faster lap. That last one, 28.330. And for Creed Daniel, yeah, 28.629. Although, might want to put an asterisk over that one because he did have a lot of lap traffic to deal with. Now he's 2.42 seconds back. He's gaining ground, but if Creed Daniel had to deal with a lot of these lap cars, then Riley Wedge had to as well. In fact, he is getting a little closer, but he has time on his side as well. It's not like he's making up all this ground with 10 laps to go. He has about 25, 28 laps to work with it here. He's working with the lapped cars. He's not really getting blocked aggressively by them. He's maybe giving them a little bit of help and then passing them. Maybe Creed Daniel just doesn't have that luck. But look at this. Look who's closing in. Speaking of lapped cars, they just made up almost a full second on that last lap. Carlos Rex, Santiago Alvarez, Arnsdorf, and Rishi Mahendra. Although, Hunter Walker, he almost just turned his teammate. Oh, he is not happy with his own teammate, and his team owner gets to have a front row seat. They're 3 wide in the corner. Hunter Walker really getting down in there. Oh, you have to be kidding me. He almost dumped his own teammate, as Rashia Mahendra might have had enough of the 23 as well. I mean, that was enough antics for a whole circus show. Also, the lead is back out to 2.6 seconds. .23 laps to go. Although that was a great last couple of laps for those guys in positions 4 through 6. Maybe even 3 for 6, if you will, because they made up more time than really expected. And in fact, they're closing in more on second place Wedge than second place Wedge is closing in on the leader, Creed Daniel. You know, I think that's kind of my analogy, my take on it. I mean, right now, Alvarez is about 4 seconds back. He's about equidistant to Riley Wedge as Wedge is to Creed Daniel. That's kind of what we're looking at. It's Charlotte Kelly with no real damage whatsoever, but still running significantly slower laps. You see an orange splitter there. Did take some damage in the first wreck on lap 22, so they did replace the splitter. 20 laps remaining in the NASCAR Hall of Fame 600. .83 seconds separates Wedge from Creed Daniel. Wedge now trying to pass the 84, Dakota Bennett, as he made up some more time there, about a tenth of a second, 1.74 back. You can see the white blob in the distance, right up there. As now Daniel has to deal with Charlotte Kelly. And Wedge still holding his line. Rex 3.5 seconds back. Alvarez about 4. And then Wedge, or excuse me, Arnsdorf and Mahendra maybe about 4.25. Lap 136 in the books as we wind down in the NASCAR Hall of Fame 600. Haven't had a caution in a while as he passes Charlotte Kelly with no issue. Although now it's officially 1.5 seconds separating Wedge from Creed Daniel. He is closing in. He's making up more ground than you'd think. Creed Daniel's lap times are now in the 29 range, 29.040, and then for Wedge, it's still 28,800. That one consistently 29.087, 28,869. He's now 1.29 seconds away. He gained 0.2 of a second in one lap. And he didn't... I know it does have something to do with the fact that Charlotte Kelly had to be lapped there to put her in 15th and make it now just 12 cars on the lead lap. I know that's the case, as now Sam Joseph coming down pit lane. Now Wedge has to deal with the 01, although it shouldn't be that hard. And it won't be. He's still making up time. He is very resilient. He's not going to let this go. Carlos Rex is in third, about 1.5 seconds back. I mean, they were about 5 seconds away from Creed Daniel earlier, and now they're under 3 as Creed Daniel will pit. So will Charlotte Kelly and Santiago Alvarez coming in a little hot there, having to put on the brakes. Arnsdorf and Mahendra, Sony Ross staying out, although she is now 1 lap down in 16th after making that unexpected stop to repair damage. So now the new leader is the 85 of Riley Wedge. Although, where is the 85? There he is in turns 3 and 4. Carlos Rex about 1.4 back. He will pit, and so will Carlos Rex. This is really the money stop right here. 14 laps to go. You're having a big moment right here. And this is where you cannot mess up the stop. And this might create a little bit of a disparity because Wedge and Daniel pitted on separate laps. If I were Riley Wedge, I would pit at the same lap that Creed Daniel would and try to maybe stretch it on tires or fuel. Because Wedge was still running faster laps than Creed Daniel. Who knows? Maybe replace the right sides and get some fuel. And they are going to go around and do 4 tires and fuel for Riley Wedge as Carlos Rex. He will beat Carlos Rex out of the pit box. Just with 13 laps to go, green flag pit stop. So now we should, rest assured, be good on fuel for now. That's what we think, at least. I cannot confirm anything. Creed Daniel, though, back out front. Right now being scored as a 3-second lead over Riley Wedge. So guess what? We're back where we were. We're back where we were with that 3-second lead. Like, oh my goodness. All that work for Riley Wedge. And now with 11 laps to go in the NASCAR Hall of Fame 600. He doesn't have that time wasted. But now, he's got no time to fool around because he lost time on that pit stop. And now the people that were about 1.5 seconds, 2 seconds back, they're right behind him now. Riley Wedge and Carlos Rex and Santiago Alvarez. You don't have to worry about Kelly and Bennett. They're 16th and 13th respectively. As Creed Daniel now, still with a 3-second lead, unless he gets a large draft help from the 14 and the 16, which I wouldn't say these guys are enemies, but they're not the kind to typically work together unless they have no choice on a super speedway. Because look, here's Carlos Rex trying to fight for a position, as even Sam Joseph in the 4 just blocked the 85. He made up all that work, and now he's not even in second. He's going to be in 4th. Come on, man. You can't do that. Although it's partially Sam Joseph's fault for making a block that tone deaf, but also it's partially the 85's fault for staying with it instead of jumping down to the inside or going to the high side, or, you know, you got 8 laps left, you need a caution. Why not just dump the dude? Because now, Carlos Rex and the gang behind him have made up time on the 65. And even Riley Wedge still. You have to get down to the inside, and you have to do it quickly. You got to jerk the wheel if you have to. Got to jerk it all around and make sure that you get that move in that you need to. As right now, whoa, we got a spin on the back. The leader has wrecked a lapped car, Kyle Driscoll. He comes back up the track, and the yellow is out on lap 147. As even Dakota Bennett being forced down low, the leader has played war games, and now the yellow is out. Unbelievable. Creed Daniel had this race in the bag, but he flat out dumps Kyle Driscoll. Driscoll is fine. He's running as normal, but oh, if you are Riley Wedge right now, you are crying tears of joy, because I cannot believe what I just saw. Kyle Driscoll is in 20th, 4 laps down, and he gets dumped. He turned flat left on him. Let's see what happened. We're going to look in real time here, and then a little bit of slow-mo. So coming off of 2. Oh, it wasn't exactly Creed Daniel's fault. From when we cut to the cameras, it looked like he had just dumped him. But Kyle Driscoll tried the block, and he tried to fill a gap that wasn't there. So we're going to take a look at the number 80 of Kyle Driscoll, who was 4 laps down. If the MSCCT had radioactive, this would be the perennial moment right here. Oh my goodness. We're also going to take a look at the 65 of Creed Daniel. You see, he was approaching the slower car, but there was nothing he could really do about that. Oh, he almost came up on the 14, too. Oh, man. Caution is out on lap 148. MSCCT fans at home, you can breathe now, as everything that has gone insane. Oh, my goodness. That's insane. Wow. I cannot believe what just happened. I am speechless. Well, I'm speaking right now, but wow. Creed Daniel dumps a car 4 laps down, although I wouldn't say dumped completely, but you get my point. I think that if Creed Daniel, I mean, look, I'm going to play devil's advocate here. If Creed Daniel doesn't wreck or spin out Kyle Driscoll, then you're screwed in one way, because then you're getting wrecked yourself, because you're locking everything down and you're not having a good time. But now that you have this under control, if Kyle Driscoll doesn't block that spot, if Kyle Driscoll does not block that spot, then you end up having a situation where Creed Daniel passes normally, we're not under yellow, and Creed Daniel cruises to a victory. So on lap 151, we will have a green-white checkered, even though no new laps are being added right now. If a caution comes out before the white flag is thrown, then we will do it all over again. There are unlimited attempts. Your top 10, Creed Daniel, Carlos Rex, Santiago Alvarez, Riley Wedge, Rashia Mahendra, Darian Arnsdorf, Sarah Feng, Doug Doering, Felipe Ford of all folks, and Ronnie Martin in 10th. Right now, 12 cars on the lead lap, 22 in the race. Creed Daniel dumps Kyle Driscoll in the most unimaginable way possible. But with 2 laps to go at the NASCAR Hall of Fame 600, we are approaching and have passed the 90-minute mark on this race. It's a green flag. If anything, the outside line is good for Carlos Rex because now he's going to have a bit of a better run since the inside line has infamously been bad all night. Rex down the back. Rex goes low. Here he comes. Here comes the 14. He's really going to come here well. White flag is out for the white car number 65. Creed Daniel in the lead. 1.5 miles to go. Riley Wedge in 3rd. Santiago Alvarez dropping back. 1 more lap at Charlotte. They head down off of 2. 1 final time. Carlos Rex trying to save face here. Does he make a move? He goes to the bottom. He can't clear the 65. He holds his line. Creed Daniel with his 2nd win of Season 3. He wins at Charlotte. The endurance race comes to a close at 1 hour and 34 minutes. With Creed Daniel being the victor after wrecking Kyle Driscoll with just a few laps to go and forcing a green-white checkered Riley Wedge, who led several laps today and led an amazing comeback attempt, holds his ground and stays 3rd, with Darian Arnsdorf in 4th and Doug Doering in 5th. This has been Dan Wilkins from the Modern Stock Car Cup Tour, signing off for now. We will see you at the next non-points-paying race at the Charlotte Motor Speedway for the All-Star Race, where Creed Daniel and many others are locked in a 24-car event. And the next points-paying race will start the second half at Dover Raceway in Dover, Delaware. We'll see you all next time. Thank you for tuning in to the Modern Stock Car Cup Tour, and thank you for a great first half of racing here in Season 3.